that terrific, terrific luncheon. All right, everyone. I never learned how to whistle, so I won't whistle. I know you are going to love this program today. So allow me to introduce the next part of the program. Brian Bowman and Dan Dahl combined their years of experience in floral design a few years ago to create Bowman Dahl. Their design aesthetic has always leaned towards the classics, but with a twist. So I know you are going to love seeing how they integrate unusual elements with traditional flowers to create unexpected, innovative, and really pleasing designs. Brian Bowman is a graduate of the University of Cincinnati College of Design, Art, Architecture, and Planning, and he began his career in the fashion industry with clients as diverse as Disney and Harley Davidson, really diverse. Thank you. Dan Dahl is a graduate of Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. Years working in design with Joel Dean and Giorgio De Luca in Soho. In addition, he had over a decade of floral experience, both independently and in the retail business around the city. In partnership as Bowman Dahl, their loyal clients have come to include the New York Botanical Garden, the Guggenheim, Coach, and Polo Ralph Lauren. I know you are going to enjoy this very much. Please join me in welcoming our special guests, Brian Bowman and Dan Dahl, excuse me. Too much sugar.
Thank you, Bill.
That's why you don't have sugar.
Thanks. Okay. You've probably seen from the photos, I'm Dan Dahl, it's Brian Bowman. Thank you. Sometimes people ask me what I do for a living, and I kind of tell them that I schlep, because that's the way most of my mornings start. We kind of typically 6, 7, 8 in the morning. We're in the flower market. Brian's usually earlier.
A little bit.
And, you know, you're carrying things in the wind and the sleet and the rain just like the postman. You've got big branches, you've got little packages, you've got boxes, boxes, boxes. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of physical labor. Last week, 8:30 in the morning, we were unloading 32 4x4s that are 8 feet long from a truck on the street into our studio. And the next day, Brian sawed and sanded them all. That was another experience.
Very long, long experience, to say the least.
That's the kind of stuff, it's not just pretty flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, that said, we're going to do flowers today. I want to do 3 arrangements kind of vaguely based on Andy Warhol's flowers, specifically kind of set for museums that we've worked in. The first one, I'm going to do something appropriate for the Guggenheim, which was the center vase, just terrazzo, a nice clean shape that would suit an entry arrangement as you walked into that museum. And I'll kind of get set up, and Brian might tell a few stories about the Guggenheim. And just this first arrangement I'm going to do is kind of the classic, I believe it was 1964, Warhol did the famous silk screen of hibiscus blooms. It's the 5-petaled, I think I brought one, but it kind of wilted. It's the grassy background with the 4 different blooms on each corner, and he did them, you know, in these colors. He did them in black and white, all sorts of variations. But I'm going to do sort of a mock-up of that interpretation, whatever. Okay, Brian, it's up to you.
I'm kind of the pretty face of the operation. Dan does all the beautiful, fabulous things. And I want you guys to feel comfortable in asking questions at any time. It's very laid back. A few things, let me see. One of our biggest nightmare stories at the Guggenheim, we were doing a event for Brown University, and they were honoring Laura Linney. And normally we do beautiful floral arrangements, obviously. But that particular year, they asked me to use plush. The mascot for Brown University is the brown bear. So they sent me like how many, like 3,000? I mean, it was just ridiculous.
They were tiny.
They were these tiny little brown, I mean, they were like Steiff bears. They're actually quite nice, but I was like, we don't use plush in our arrangements particularly, but I was like, all right, whatever. So I thought, and I told Dan, I'm like, well, maybe we can just glue them to the vases. You know, we'll make very cool geometric patterns. And it was actually one of the pictures. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but we'll make fabulous patterns around the vases. It'll be subtle, so it won't be very obnoxious as far as I was considered. But, and then they get their brown bear and everybody will be happy. So we do it. That took forever, I might add, gluing all these bears all over the vases. And I was a little nervous, because obviously, you know, lots of times you prep a day before, a couple days before. We'd made these vases, and I was a little concerned because we had to put the floral back into the cooler. And so
we did test this, by the way.
Yes,
we did put one in the cooler one night.
Yes, I did. I swear I tested this, because we filled them with water, we put floral on them, we put them in the cold storage, took them out the next day. Everything was fabulous. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be easy. So Dan makes all the arrangements and my stunning vases that I've glued all these bears all over. And one of our drivers comes and picks us up, get to the Guggenheim, and it was a quick turn. I don't remember why, but for some reason it was a quick turn that they were setting it up. The Guggenheim must have been open that day, so we had to like get in and get it done and get out. And the first vase that Dan pulls out of our packing boxes, all the bears came off. And I was like, oh my God. And so, and I thought it was maybe just that one vase. And so I'm scrambling around, scurrying around in, you know, the loading dock of the Guggenheim Museum, which isn't, you know, the greatest place to be unloading things anyways, but every single bear was falling off all these vases. So I was like, oh my God. And so, I brought a glue gun, right? Just in case one or two fell off, one or two. And maybe like one glue stick. And so, it's now 5:30 or something like that, 6 o'clock. I'm on the Upper East Side of Manhattan trying to find glue sticks. Well, I looked like I'd run the marathon by the time I got back to the Guggenheim, running from place to place to place trying to get glue sticks. Finally got them, and we literally, in 45 minutes or what, glued all these bears back onto all these vases and got them out there for they could honor Laura Linney. That's my nightmare story of the Guggenheim. Let's see. Go ahead, Daniel.
I just want to explain what I'm doing here. The grass I put in is just commonly called pepper grass. I'm making, from that Warhol silkscreen, just a grassy background. I've got a couple of umbrella ferns. I'm going to put in a variegated liriope just to create the green background that he had in the photo. And I'm not doing this for any particular rhyme or reason. It's just sort of random. And this would have looked better, I think, if I would have found the dark, not the variegated, but it wasn't any in the market this week. So. Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I don't.
No.
Normally, I would, in something this size, I would normally use chicken wire. I would kind of make a cage on the inside, but this grass has enough structure to it, and I'm going to put the peonies in eventually, and they're not too heavy for it, so I just left it alone. And sometimes you can tape, like when I use the gold base, I'll probably tape across. But I tend to not use Oasis unless we're doing something really huge, or unless we're doing something that's got to be transported a long distance, and then it's just easier.
It helps in keeping things from shifting. If we're doing a huge party for we have the Conservatory Ball coming up at the end of this month. We have Founders Ball next Tuesday. We're doing a party for 370, 400 people. All that unloading and loading, lots of things obviously get askew. So it really works well then. But at the same time, which Dan will know the florals better than I, but a lot of floral doesn't react well to Oasis. Like hydrangea, you stick that in there, it'll collapse within a couple hours normally, right, Daniel?
Yeah.
So it works with some flowers, other flowers it's not the best.
Anything with a hollow
medium.
stem, it's definitely a no-no.
Yeah, exactly. Anemones, nightmare to work with. In Oasis, that is.
Okay. No more Guggenheim stories?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of another Guggenheim story. Yes? No. No. The question was, did I ever find out why the bears fell off? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, obviously they've got, you know, you hire the best drivers in the world, but you know, you're transporting vases with water and everything else. They got wet, but I'd even tested that. You know, I tried everything because I was obviously nervous about the whole situation because I didn't want to have to do what we obviously ended up having to do. But yeah, I never did figure that one out. And I will never do that again either, actually. I will never do plush bears on vases ever again. Yes? And I just stand around and look pretty? When we have a huge, I can't actually do this when necessary. We have a whole staff of designers that we like. When we have like a staff of 6 or 7 next week, and actually lots of times it's actually great for the Founders Ball and the Conservatory Ball that's coming up. Actually, it takes 3 days to do those events basically. So we actually are able to actually make the arrangements on site, which actually makes it much, you know, we spend one entire day up there with a staff of about 5 or 6 people, and we'll make arrangements all day long, basically, so, yes.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
You had a shift in requests since the royal wedding?
As far as like everybody wanting Lily of the Valley or whatever you mean? Oh, for weddings, you're saying? No, because it'll be coming though. I guarantee you it'll be coming. Because like, we normally get booked about a year in advance, which drives me crazy. I mean, quite honestly, anybody that's going to be getting married soon, really 6 months is enough. Like if you come to me a year in advance and say you want this, I guarantee you it'll change 5 times before you come back and see me again. But I bet you $1 million within the next, like I'm already getting calls for like September 2012. And those weddings, I'm sure, will have that, which I thought was stunning. I thought they did a really, really beautiful job as making it very like outdoors and country with them when they brought in the trees. What were those trees? They were beech trees or?
Field maples and hornbeam.
Yeah. I thought that was stunning, and especially the way they did the whole like enclave and everything. It was very natural.
Was that original, or is it something that you've seen before?
I mean, we've been requested to do things that are more simple of that nature. I thought it was very well done because it was just a lot of simple items. It was viburnum and Solomon seal. It was just real simple and very elegantly done, which we tend to prefer. A lot of people would explain Dan and I as like we tend to be classic, but there's always a very interesting twist. The floral we use is always exquisite. We always insist on having the best, basically. But yeah, trust me, I bet in the next 6 months I'm going to get a lot of that actually. And that bouquet was stunning. You know Lily of the Valley, and you know those stems, right? How tiny and petite that whole bouquet was hand wired, which Dan can tell you. I do most of the wedding bookings, and when I book a bride that wants a wired bouquet, he's ready to kill me because it takes so much time because each stem is individually wrapped and taped. Those things are a bloody fortune.
It makes a better bouquet, honestly.
It does.
It makes it really lightweight because you don't have all the stem weight. It's easier for a woman's hand to hold.
Right.
But they are a lot of work, and it's just that twisting motion of, you know, your hands just become numb after a while. So. Well, this is almost done. I didn't have exactly the right number. I was hoping for like 5 peonies of each of the shades to do the actual hibiscus blooms. Didn't quite work out that way.
These peonies are stunning. These are the type of peony that I don't know the exact name. What are these called?
That's the coral charm.
Coral charm. Those are the peonies that actually in like 4 days, they'll have completely faded to ivory, but still maintain their structure. They're actually quite stunning. They're really, really beautiful.
And something,